What if there's a hidden triangle inside your body, one that quietly shapes your energy, your emotions, and your ability to manifest what you truly desire? Not a triangle you see with your eyes, but one you feel when you're finally still enough to listen. The sacrum, the diaphragm, and the thymus. 3 sacred points, 3 ancient keys. Together they form a forgotten triangle of life force, the axis of creation within you. This is not a theory, it's a knowing. And today, we begin the journey back to this living bond. It starts at the base, the sacrum, the sacred bone, heavy, ancient, unmoved by chaos. This is the anchor of your being, the place where your life force first touched your body. The sacrum holds your primal fire, your instincts, your survival, your sexual energy. But more than that, it holds the memory of who you were before the world told you who to be. When this part of you is asleep, you feel heavy, uninspired, disconnected from joy. But when it wakes, something stirs, a pulse, a rhythm, the beginning of return. The sacrum doesn't speak in words, it speaks in pulses, in movement, in truth. Above the sacrum, hidden behind your ribs, lives the diaphragm. This is the bridge, the breath maker, the gatekeeper of flow. You breathe every day, but how often do you truly feel your breath? The diaphragm is not just a muscle, it is a translator between the root and the heart. When it tightens, your life force gets trapped below. When it softens, everything begins to move again. A relaxed diaphragm opens the highway of energy. It lets your inner fire rise. It lets your body speak. When you breathe deep, when you breathe like you mean it, you awaken the second point of the triangle. And now, the current begins to travel upward. Now we arrive at the thymus, the space beneath your collarbones, right above the heart, small, often ignored, but deeply powerful. This is the gate of trust. The thymus holds the emotional code of self-worth, boundaries, and connection. It's where you say yes to life, or hide from it. It's where you either block your own energy, or allow your full self to rise. When the sacrum burns and the diaphragm opens, the thymus must choose. Will you let yourself be seen? Will you let your inner power enter your outer life? This is not about shouting. It's about presence. The thymus teaches you that manifestation isn't just energy. It's alignment. When these 3 awaken together, something begins to shift. Your body remembers it was never just a collection of parts. It was always a single current, moving from the earth of your sacrum, through the breath of your diaphragm, to the light of your thymus. This is the axis of inner power. This is the triangle the ancients lived by, but modern life forgot. You are not meant to heal in pieces. You are meant to reconnect, from the ground, to the breath, to the heart. That's how energy moves. That's how manifestation becomes real. You don't force this connection. You remember it. So take a moment. Place one hand on your lower belly, one on your chest, and breathe. Feel the pulse at the base. Feel the rise of your breath. Feel the warmth under your collarbones. That's the triangle coming alive again. That's you, coming home. And in this remembering, manifestation is no longer a mystery. It's a response from your body, from your soul, from the universe that's been waiting for you to reconnect the code. The triangle is not hidden anymore. It's here, alive, inside you. And this is just the beginning. In the last chapter, we awakened the sacred triangle, the bond between sacrum, diaphragm, and thymus. But if this triangle is so powerful, why do we lose the connection? Why does the flow stop? The truth is painful, but freeing. Your body doesn't forget, but it can become blocked. Not by weakness, but by what it had to carry. Old emotions, Heavy memories, moments you didn't know how to process, so your body held them for you, but holding comes at a cost. And today, we uncover the hidden blocks and silent leaks that break the triangle apart. Let's begin where it all starts, the sacrum. This bone doesn't lie. It remembers everything, not in words, in weight. Every time you were told your feelings were too much. Every time you froze instead of fought. Every time your safety was taken or your joy was shamed. The sacrum absorbed it, and slowly, that fiery root began to dim. When the sacrum is blocked, it doesn't feel like trauma. It feels like numbness, like dragging yourself through life, disconnected from desire, cut off from instinct. This is not laziness. It's a system overloaded with emotions it never had space to feel. And this is where the disconnection begins. Next, we move to the diaphragm, the breath bridge. When life felt too much to handle, what did you do? You held your breath. You kept it all in. You survived. But that tight chest, that shallow breath, that's your body still holding it in. When the diaphragm locks, the breath gets stuck. Energy from the sacrum can't rise. Emotions from the heart can't move. The middle of the triangle becomes a wall. You're alive, but not flowing. You're functioning, but not feeling. And the breath, your natural healer, becomes a prisoner. You may not even notice it until you realize you haven't taken a full breath in years. And then comes the thymus, your emotional gate. This part of you holds the memory of trust and heartbreak. If you've ever been betrayed, silenced, judged, or abandoned, the thymus knows. It's where the body stores unspoken grief, the kind you smile through, the kind you never cried for. When the thymus is blocked, you may feel like you're open, but deep down, you're protecting your heart. You say you're fine, but something feels off. You speak, but it doesn't land. You try to manifest, but nothing sticks. You long to connect, but keep your walls up. And the triangle, once alive, becomes split. Root, breath, heart, now strangers to each other. So, what happens when the triangle breaks? Your energy leaks, not in big dramatic ways, but in the slow drip of fatigue, the constant anxiety, the lack of joy, the burnout you can't explain. You give more than you receive. You try harder but feel emptier. You do all the right things and still feel lost. These are signs of emotional shadow, parts of you that were pushed aside because they were too much for others. But here's the secret. Your energy doesn't come from doing more. It comes from returning to what you abandoned, feeling what was unfelt, breathing what was held, speaking what was silenced. This is how you stop the leak. This is how you reconnect the flow. The triangle hasn't disappeared. It's just waiting for you to come back to the parts you left behind. The sacrum doesn't need fixing. It needs feeling. The diaphragm doesn't need control. It needs breath. The thymus doesn't need armor. It needs truth. You are not broken. You are blocked. And blocks can be moved. The next step isn't about effort. It's about unlocking. And that's where we go next. Now that we've seen how the sacred triangle can break, how emotions block, how energy leaks, how silence and survival steal our spark, the question becomes, how do we rebuild? Not with willpower, not by forcing anything open, but by remembering what was always there, your breath, your body's wisdom, and your natural ability to create life from within. In this chapter, we don't just understand the disconnection, we begin to rebuild the bridge between the sacrum, your creative fire, the diaphragm, your breath of life, and the thymus, your center of trust and inner protection. This is not a ritual of effort. This is a return. The first step is always the breath, not the kind that fills your lungs on command, but the quiet breath that's been waiting under all your control. When you begin to breathe with awareness, with softness, with presence, the diaphragm begins to loosen. It stops being a barrier. It becomes a bridge. You're no longer just inhaling air. You're drawing in life force. You're telling your body, it's safe now. Each breath becomes a message. You don't have to hold it all anymore. And in this new space, energy from the sacrum begins to rise, gently, naturally. This is the first thread of reconnection. As the breath begins to move, the next center begins to respond. The thymus. The thymus doesn't open to force. It opens to truth. You cannot fake this part. You cannot rush it. But when the breath reaches up into the chest, when you speak with honesty, when you allow emotion to rise without shame, the thymus begins to soften. And with that softening comes strength. Not the strength to fight, but the strength to finally receive. When the thymus is awake, your whole energy shifts. You no longer leak energy trying to protect yourself. You become a vessel of natural immunity, not just in the physical sense, but energetic, emotional, and spiritual. You stop shrinking. You stop pleasing. You begin belonging to yourself again. And now, the sacral flame returns, with breath flowing, with the thymus feeling. The sacrum no longer holds trauma. It begins to hold power. This is the moment the root starts speaking again. Desire returns, not just sexual, but creative. Joy bubbles up for no reason. You feel that ancient rhythm in your hips, your gut, your spine. This is not a performance. This is presence. You're no longer creating from lack. You're no longer pushing to be enough. You're allowing life to move through you. This is the essence of sacral intelligence. It's where manifestation becomes magnetic, not by saying affirmations with a blocked chest, but by letting energy rise freely through a body that feels safe, alive, and open. So now, the triangle rebuilds itself. Sacrum, diaphragm, thymus, root, breath, heart, desire, flow, trust. When these three align, you don't just feel better. You become whole. You don't need to try to attract your dreams. You become the space they're drawn to. You don't need to heal by force. You heal by presence. And the exhaustion you once thought was normal fades. The anxiety you once thought was you releases. The part of you that felt disconnected from source reawakens. Because it was never about fixing yourself. It was about reconnecting yourself. One breath, one truth, one spark at a time. Now you know the path. The body was never against you. It was waiting for your breath to soften the tension, waiting for your truth to open the heart, waiting for your fire to rise again, not in anger but in creation. This is your bridge. This is your return. And in the final chapter, we go even deeper into the quantum field of manifestation through this sacred axis that you now carry, alive and awakened. You've returned to your breath. You've softened into the thymus. You've felt the sacral pulse waking back up, and something inside you has already started to shift. But now we enter the moment that changes everything, when the three become one. When your sacrum, your diaphragm, and your thymus stop surviving separately and start vibrating together. This is not just healing, this is activation. Because when your energetic core becomes whole, you don't just feel better, you start to change your reality. This is where quantum manifestation begins, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Imagine this. Your sacral center is lit. Your creative fire is alive again. Your diaphragm is open. Breath flows like a river. Your thymus is awake. You feel safe, present, real. What you've done is restore the inner axis that was always meant to carry energy, emotion, and intention together. And when this axis is aligned, your body doesn't just feel better. It starts to broadcast. Yes, your energy becomes a signal, not scattered, not desperate, but coherent, strong, clear. This is the frequency the universe responds to. You're no longer trying to manifest things with your mind. You're becoming the field that attracts what already belongs to you. Because reality doesn't respond to words. It responds to vibration. And wholeness vibrates differently. Before this, maybe you tried to manifest from your wounds, from the ache, from the fear of being left or never being enough, from the pressure to fix your life fast. But creation born from survival can't hold your true light. Now, you're different. You're not asking the universe from a place of lack. You're offering the universe your alignment, and that changes everything. Because now, when you think of a desire, you don't beg for it. You resonate with it. You don't chase it. You match it. The sacrum creates the energy. The diaphragm moves it. The thymus opens the space for it to land. This is what most people miss. Manifestation isn't a trick of the mind. It's a song your whole being must sing together. And now, you're in tune. Here's how you know it's working. Suddenly, you'll feel lighter, even when nothing has changed yet. There's peace inside the waiting. You're no longer scared of not having it, because you already feel it inside. Your body feels like it's humming. Ideas come easier. You speak more clearly. You move without effort. People begin to respond differently. You attract support without begging for it. The energy around you begins to organize, not because you forced it, but because you aligned. You're not pulling things to you. You're creating space for them to arrive. This is what happens when wholeness becomes your new normal. Here's the truth. Most of us were never taught. You were never just meant to survive in pieces. You were designed to create in wholeness. And the axis you just awakened, sacrum, diaphragm, thymus, that's not just an inner map. It's a creation engine. It's where trust, thymus, breath, diaphragm, and power, sacrum, come together to birth new realities. This is not spiritual theory. This is embodiment. This is how source flows through you, not outside of you. So now, walk as the creator. Speak from your heart. Move with your breath. Act from your core. Every thought you plant now grows roots in fertile ground. Every desire you honor now echoes through your field. Every step you take takes you deeper into your own truth. You've returned to your axis, and your axis is awake. So now we arrive here, not just healed, but whole. Not just hoping, but creating. Because when you remembered the silent bond between the sacrum, the diaphragm, and the thymus, you remembered how to live again, how to breathe again, how to rise again. And when you rise from within, the world rises to meet you. This is the quantum path. This is the power of the Triad. This is you manifesting as wholeness.